I took the recommendation of Dan Horrigan's former HR director, current assistant law director in Cleveland Heights, for one of the people to bring in and see if they would be an appropriate firm to do the investigation. I looked at a few different firms. It ultimately selected the one that was recommended by her, and they went through an entirely too long process. It took too long. A lot of that's on me. I should have pushed harder for that to be completed more quickly, but there was a lot going on as well. So that was Dan Horrigan's exit. If we're talking about people exiting, I don't know that anybody has experienced something like that happening, where this unsubstantiated, unproven accusation happens. This employee makes a complaint. It was a city administrator. Resigns.
It's something a little deeper than that, and he may not said it or whatever. I believe. When I say something deeper, it's something.
I'll tell you what I think is deeper is the fact that
I think when he made that conversation, he already knew he was done. He's been a mayor before, and he knows when he made that statement to you that he was being insubordinate.
He was, but the sad part about that,
he didn't care. And this is why I say it's deeper. And I want us to move on because we really did. Yeah. It was deeper than that. And I'm going to go as far as to say is that at that moment, he had to make a decision on whether he wanted to deal with you or not. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And when he made the comment to you to say that, hey, I didn't think, he's been a mayor. He's been in politics and he knows. So he's looking at you. And when he said that, that was like, hey, brother, I ain't, no. And then the next day when he called to say, I'm working from home, he was already in his mind, I don't want to put it and say it was a white man, black man thing. I'm going to just say it was a man thing. It was just that, brother, I ain't letting you talk to me no more that way. I don't think you should have been there. I might have been wrong about what I said, but I said it. And then I'm going home and I'm not coming back because in my mind, I'm quitting already. I just need to know how I'm going to do it. And he took the weekend. He took the weekend to figure it out.
And he dragged us under the bus.
Okay.
On his exit.
I accept that. He wasn't going out like without no casualties, so he's going to take some with him.
But I'll tell you one last thing that I want to point out.
Okay.
When Andrea Heim made that complaint with a clear deviation from the facts of what actually happened, you can't mistake one thing for
Oh, no, I understand.
You are, in my view, and I don't get to make these decisions, but there is actually a statute in the Ohio Revised Code called falsification, where it is prohibited to make false statements to a public official in the commission of their duties in an attempt to influence their process.
It's like lying to the FBI.
It's like lying to the FBI. So two things happened. First, on March 13th, when the complaint was made, when the false complaint was made, you are making a false complaint to a public official who is tasked with investigating that complaint in an attempt to influence the results of that investigation. That's first. That was Andrea Heim. The next day, when Dan Horrigan called Loretta Reeder and then sent an email telling HR and law, who would be tasked with investigating an HR complaint, telling them that Loretta Reeder confirmed that complaint, that's another false statement you're making.
Yeah, that's a false statement.
From my perspective, either one of those people getting to the point, especially when the assistant law director said, you should get a statement. And it's, oh, wait a minute. If I get a statement,
that ain't going.
It's not going to say what I just told.
Boy, you was in some mess down there.
How could I have anticipated that kind of thing?
People, we don't even have enough time to go through all the madness this brother's going through. We've been on here. We just getting started. We gonna move. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. Horrigan, that whole situation, man, it's just terrible. But we gonna move on. Let's move on. Staff drama is one of the big things that you get into. But let's get into some of the money issues now. Right? Let's talk about some of the money. A lot of folks feel that the city budget in disarray. Critics said that you dropped a budget bomb on city council in the last budget hearings. And some of the folks said that it was incompleted as well. So I want to talk to you about the budget process and working with council and getting stuff done with council. I only want to go off of one of my experiences to set the mode for what we're going to talk about with the council and the difficulties you have working with council. I don't know exactly all the ins and outs. I watch it from afar and stay involved as much as I can with it, but I did come to you for some help. I came to you because there was a business person in the community who comes, that's what I do for a living. They asked me, hey, could you go to City Hall and talk with the mayor because we want to simply buy this vacant lot behind us. If we can't buy the vacant lot behind us, we want to use the lot so that we can put some equipment on it while we repair our property. There's a business over there, they wanted to expand their business or use the lot to do some work. I came to you, I explained to you about the project, I told you what I wanted to do. You liked the project, you said, Ken, it sounds like a good project. They're gonna put $3 million on that corner? Yeah, they're gonna put $3 million on that corner, man. We're gonna fix this place up and everything. And you said, okay, it sounds like a good idea for me. I need it done. But if we're going to pass this thing, you got to get it through council. Yeah. So if you want to get it through council, this is what you need to do. You gave me 3 people to go see. You need to go see these 3 people. If they say they for it, you're good. But do not tell them that I'm supporting it. Because if you tell I'm supporting it, they're going to be against it. I said, really? You say, yeah, man, do not tell them I like this project. Because I'm telling you, man, if you want to get this done, you can't tell them I like it. I said, wow. I left out of there. I went to go see those 3 council people you told me to. Tony Kuda, Avita, Russell, and the other person. I couldn't remember who it was, but I couldn't read. But I went and seen those 2.
I don't remember who.
I remember the other person was, but it was 3 people you told me. So when I went to see Tony Kuda, I sat down with Tony Kuda, met him at a restaurant, told him what I wanted to do. He told me, he looked at the project, sound like a great project, man. Really like what you're doing here, man. Y'all gonna put $3 million on that corner? Yeah, we're gonna put $3 million. That sounds great. I like it. I'm for it. But you got a problem. I said, what's my problem? Man, it's the mayor. I said, what's the problem with the mayor? Man, if you tell the mayor I like this project, he ain't gonna do it. I said, really? He said, yeah. Now, I ain't saying nothing because I'm like, I gotta get this project done. So I can't tell him what the mayor just told me, so I'm gonna just keep it moving. So I left there. I went to go met with the Vita, sat down with the Vita. The Vita went, looked at the project, really spent a lot of time with the Vita. She's thorough. She want to go through it all. Went through it all with the Vita and everything. The Vita was like, oh, sound like you putting $3 million on that corner. I said, we putting $3 million on that corner. Wow. I like it. You gonna do a community meeting with some of the people? I said, yeah, we'll do a community meeting, all that stuff. No big deal at all. I like it, but you only got one problem. I said, what's that? She said, if you tell the mayor I like it, you'll never get it done. And I sat there and I said, how the hell do they get any work in City Hall done? How do they get any work in City Hall done? So I'm saying that to say that I'm proposing this question to you about the last budget that went through and all the stuff that you had to go through, that people are continuing to say that. And part of that is the mismanagement, because I don't want to spend too much time in the budget because, like I said, we got to rapid fire these things. But the thing that I started out saying that I was most disappointed in, because the budget, it got passed or whatever, I don't really need to get much into that. But this is the part I want to focus in on. Just the day before yesterday, an article came out that stated that there were dollars that were sent to the city of Cleveland Heights that were supposed to have been allocated for safety or something to that nature, that somehow or another those funds got bobbled or whatnot, and those funds may possibly will be sent back to the government. So I wanted to get your perspective on what happened. How is that happening? Is that true? Or what's the real deal of what's going on?
All right, so first of all, the federal government doesn't just send you some money.
Right.
Normally, ARPA notwithstanding.
Correct.
The money that we're talking about is a project that I spearheaded. It's a project that I applied for. It is the creation of my administration. We haven't.
Explain that again.
So in order to do this, the details are going to be annoying. You have to get an ID.me account to prove that you have to connect that account to the organization that has been awarded the grant. And then you need to be able to use that in order to connect to a different federal system in order to actually draw down the grant. So that's the first issue. And what we found is that their system wasn't allowing us to identify ourselves as the people affiliated with the organization in order to pull down the money in the first place. We still haven't been able to figure that out. They haven't been able to fix it. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this was, I think, just a bit of over-eagerness on my part to get this done. We applied for 2 grants, and both of those grants were intended to work toward the same program, to fund the same program.
Okay.
Now, one of the difficulties that we ran into with the federal government was that they looked at that as a duplication of grants. And so they were going to disallow our ability to actually draw down both.
Because they thought you was trying to double dip.
Now, in applying for these 2 grants, we're trying to get multiple sources of funding in order to make a program.
Is that on the organization you hired to do that?
I think in this case, blame is shared, including with me.
Okay.
And so I'll take responsibility for that. But that doesn't mean that the program has to stop.
Okay.
It just means that we have to figure out different funding in order to actually draw down the grant. So that's the first issue. And what we found is that their system wasn't allowing us to identify ourselves as the people affiliated with the organization in order to pull down the money in the first place.
So where they're saying that your funds will have to go back or you may not get the funds because of that, it means basically that if this situation happens, you may not be able to apply for the grant.
If we don't get this resolved, that will be a problem. And I don't want to send money back to the federal government to get this, like this system situation resolved. But then additionally, this is the other issue.
Okay.
Obviously, the change in government at the federal level calls a lot of things into question. It wasn't something that we anticipated. Frankly, the particular program, the public safety program that I was hoping to implement before today, I asked council to fund it with ARPA dollars. Ages ago, council chose not to do that. Council chose to go a different direction and not use those ARPA dollars for that purpose. Now, I had asked that I'd made that request as a result of a series of public meetings that I had with people all over the city and a survey that we put out about people's priorities for how we would spend the ARPA dollars. That was something that we did early on to try to get a read on how people might want us to spend these federal dollars, and public safety and youth services are top on that list. And that makes sense. And this was a program that was intended to do some violence interruption, some even mentoring for kids who are at risk of either being the victim or the perpetrator of violence, especially as these things spiral out of control. And I asked council to take a look at this survey, and here's what I'm proposing we use these ARPA dollars for. And if council had determined, you know what, we're going to follow the mayor's lead on these ARPA dollars, as they did in Cleveland, as they do in other jurisdictions, this program would have been up and running by now.
Let me ask you.
Instead, they told me in no uncertain terms, Mayor, you are not going to determine how these dollars are spent. This is council. We're going to do this.
So let me ask you this question, because I gave an example of how I dealt with council and dealing with that and getting stuff done. And to this day, we still haven't got our thing done. We moved on. How much?
I haven't moved on. Like I said, I've been trying to set you.
No, we've been talking about, I'm making just the point of what I'm saying, but no, you have followed up on it after that, and just with all the drama I'm being honest, with all the drama you were going through and everything, I was just like, Kahlil, I just don't even want to bother you with it because of what I went through with council. Ain't think nothing changed. So I said, if you bring it up, you gonna still, we gonna all sit there and act like nobody gonna say nothing and it's just gonna pass. So I was just like, you know what? I remember you called me and I was like, Kahlil, I said, Khalil's still working on it, but I said, I ain't gonna bother him, I'm gonna let it go. How much responsibility though you think the city council has in all of this madness of everything that's going on? Because they can't blame it all on you. And I'm saying this for the citizens who's listening to the program here today, because I understand how government works also, and I done been around it enough. I would say Cleveland Heights ain't going to be an East Cleveland. No, but it can easily fall in. Maple Heights has some serious issues as it relates with its council members and working with its mayor. There's other cities around the county that has those kind of issues. Now, I wanted to ask you in your position, how much responsibility you think this falls on cities?
So I think part of it starts just a general impression of me. I think that when you look at council's comments about me, when you look at how they characterize my motivations, how they characterize my experience, my knowledge of government and my work, they start from a place of negativity.